if you want engaged employees, an engaged staff, an engaged corporation, you need to appreciate them. You need to recognize what they're doing. And for 30 years too, I've been doing what I've been doing. And I've coached so many leaders on, you know what? You don't even need a budget line item to say, thank you so much, Dwight. With your involvement in this project, we were able to do this, this, and this. I am so grateful. You added so much value. That took what, 5 seconds? Free. It's free, people. And guess what? It goes a long way. And give a specific example. Don't be just, hey, oh, you did a good job again. That doesn't really intelligent top 10% people are going to just be like, here he goes. He's just saying things to say things.
Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more month than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident.
Good day and welcome to Give a Heck. On today's show, I welcome Jeannie Moravits Smith. Jeannie creates breakthrough experiences from the inside out, allowing her clients to create an extremely healthy relationship with themselves and others. Founder and CEO of Dynamism Leadership, formerly HRRX Inc., a leadership coaching and consulting firm established in 2005. Jeannie has helped thousands of leaders learn how to take charge of catabolic thoughts and feelings that control their mind and how to use anabolic energy to act and embrace change. Jeannie holds certifications in leadership coaching, energy leadership, confidence, and human resource management, as well as a Master of Science degree in human resources. Jeannie's passion is to help individuals and teams maximize their human potential and presents and facilitates on the following: leadership coaching skills, leading with emotional intelligence, core values, life's game changer, confident communication, and authentic leadership and resiliency. I'd like to welcome you to the show, Jeannie. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on and share with us some of your life journey.
Oh, Dwight, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Our pre-conversation prior to this was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you better and having my listeners and people that watch get to know, like, and trust you like I already do in a very short period of time. So thank you so much for, again, coming on. One of the things I focused on, as I mentioned before we started recording, is I focused on a person's origin story. Because for me, my life begun when my earliest recollections and things and patterns that were taught to me by my parents, by family, by society, by the school system, even our clubs that we belong to, if we're in soccer or whatever, skating, baseball, whatever the case may be, maybe we were playing volleyball, all those influences are patterns that condition us as we grow up, good, bad, or ugly. I'd love to know, your earliest recollections from little Jeannie up to where you are today, so that we can get to know, like, and trust you. So share whatever you feel comfortable with, but I'd appreciate knowing whatever you would like to share about your life all the way up to where you are now.
Okay, thank you. So I grew up in Los Angeles, in California. I was the youngest of 6 kids. My mom was on her 3rd marriage when she had my brother and I. And so I was the last of the group of 8 of us. And being the youngest, some people would always say you're spoiled. I think it was like survival. So I had 3 sisters and two brothers. And so if I was passive at all, I didn't get it. Like my brother was a teenager, my oldest brother was a teenager, so he was eating like 3 donuts. So if I wanted one, you had to get in there. You had to get your hand in there. So in the opposite, I have one child, and he was 2 or 3, we would go to parties, and there was a piñata, and he would wait till all the kids were done and there's no candy, or he would pick and choose the pieces he liked. So there's quite different. Like I didn't understand that, because I was literally like, if you want a donut, you get your hand in there, right? And if you want to eat on your plate, you better eat quick, because your brother's going to grab that steak because he's still hungry. And my brother was pretty ballsy with stuff. Like he would just go for it because he was a teenage boy wanting to eat, point blank. He would eat the whole box of cereal. So you had to be a little assertive. And I was like the shy, assertive kid. So I would wait, but then when in the family, I would definitely like, after I missed out a couple times, and my mom was like, you know what, honey, life isn't fair. Because I'd be like, Mom, it's not fair. I didn't get my donut. And you know what she'd say, honey? Life is not fair. And you have to figure that out. Like your whole life, it's just not fair. You have to create your life the way that you want to create it. So I didn't get that when I was 3, 4, 5, 6. I didn't understand really what that meant. I was like, I just got to do what we're doing here. My family, we had a 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, not a lot of money. There were no plans for Jeannie to go to college because Mom and Dad couldn't sponsor that. They didn't have the money to send me off to UCLA or USC or anything like that. So what's Jeannie going to do? I guess, as my friends went off to college, I'm going to have to get a job. So I got this job, and it was in Burbank, and it was in aerospace company. And so I walk in, and they assume I'm there for an intern. Like all the leader of marketing, sales, they thought I was an intern for the summer. So how long are you here? When do you go back to school? And I'm like, oh, this is my full-time job. And they're like, yeah, no. They kept saying that's no, you have so much more to give and offer. You need to go get a college education. And I'm like, but you understand how I grew up. We just don't have that. So they didn't take no for an answer. And they believed in me in areas of my life that I didn't believe in it yet, because it wasn't necessarily presented to me as an option. And so they would bring applications in for student loans and grants, and here you're going to go here. And so the compromise that summer was that I was going to register for the junior college. And coincidentally, so I did that, and I proved to them. They all came to my graduation, and then I had friends. It was beautiful, just beautiful.
That's
like my
awesome.
Extended family. And of course, my mom was very proud of me. My dad was very proud of me. And it was, in a sense, my mom was even more proud because I made it work, right? But it with something that she couldn't necessarily provide. So then it's almost the same thing happened. My friends were moving from LA to San Diego to finish their undergrad at San Diego State. And they're like, well, here's the applications. We have a room for you when you're ready. I'm like, I'm done. Like a high school diploma was what I was going to get. Now I have an associate's degree. Now what do I need to do? Right. And so again, my friends were like pushing me. And I said, all right. So here we go. So now I'm in San Diego. I get my undergrad finished, and with support from my friends, and more of like a drive and a kick in the ass, like from my friends, like, just, you're not giving up. This is what you really need to do. And I share that with people because if you're open to listening what others believe in, how they believe in you, and how they want to support you, and accepting help like that, you're going to achieve even more. So understand that maybe sometimes we don't have all the answers. Even as a teenage girl, I don't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I'm like, that sounds kind of fun. Okay, I'll go do that. And I saw that my friends were intelligent, and I'm like, well, they must be onto something. So even if you are raised a certain way and programmed a certain way, maybe there's another alternative for you to take.
Yeah. That's so true. One of the things that resoundingly about the last part of what you were sharing is associations. You were blessed, not lucky, you were blessed and had the awareness that people in your life maybe knew more than you did, and you stepped out on faith. And a lot of people are scared. They live a life of fear, and they're always fearful of taking risk and chances. So from that company pushing you to go to college to get your associate degree to going for your undergraduate because of friends, you still had to be a person that was tenacious, in the sense that maybe initially you needed to push, but once you had to push, your tenacity kicked in and you went and accomplished what you needed to accomplish. And
Yeah.
that sense of pride you must feel when you even are thinking about that. Like I'm proud of you, and I'm just getting to know you. Like
Oh, thank you.
you're welcome. That's amazing to hear that. It confirms with what I teach people and what I believe. Our associations are so important. So those people coming to your graduation from your work, encouraging you, giving you applications, those are the associations we all need to strive for. So those listening or watching this, what are you associating with? Who are you associating with? So associations aren't just who, that's what. What are you
Yeah.
listening to? What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you filling into your brain? If the people that you're talking to aren't encouraging you, like Jeannie was blessed to have, find new associations, right?
Yeah.
That is imperative. That is something that has definitely helped you out in your life. And I imagine there's many other stories of where people have encouraged and mentored you throughout your life. So good for you. I like you brought up about the siblings, ate everything. The reason I mentioned that with 5 kids, when I became the single parent of them and there wasn't joint custody anymore, it would be, okay, kids, this is how much food I've made for you. Pardon me, not met, made. Take some, right? Do not overload your plate. And if they did, they'd get in trouble from me. I'd say, you know what? There's this many of us going to be eating, and you've taken a third or a half of the potatoes. Well, I'm hungry. Well, it doesn't matter if you're hungry. The rest are hungry as well. So we share. We're a community. We're a family. And if there's seconds left, then you're welcome to go up and get more. So I was constantly having to remind them. Otherwise, there'd be like, the last person's up there and there's no broccoli left, or there's no carrots left, or what happened? There's no, you know what I mean? And you look over and there's somebody's plate that's got 3 pieces of chicken yet. I've only 6 of us are eating, and I've made 6 pieces. And because that's, I was trying to survive financially, just to put food on the table, make sure everybody's taken care of, pay for all their extracurricular, all that other stuff. But it made me smile when I heard you say that your brother would eat all 3 donuts. He had to scramble for it.
You sound like you're in a similar situation as my parents were, and how my mom, so she would, I guess, ration it out, and my brother was like, I didn't get enough. So he'd be like, tiny little Jeannie, the youngest one, are you really going to eat that? I'm like, well, I just started. And he'd be like, are you going to eat that? I'm still hungry, so it's similar situation, but your children end up growing up with the right state of mind. Like I never take the last or too much of anything, and that's the way that you should be showing up to a party. You don't fill your plate with items and not let somebody else have it.
Oh, doesn't that frustrate you when you go to events? Where it could be any type of event, and there's 6, 7 people going to be eating at a potluck, at a family potluck, or maybe it's a big event potluck, and they just load everything up and they have no regard for other people. You can tell how they were raised, though.
I was going to say, who raised them?
I have relatives like that. Drives me crazy. And if I see them at events, I'm hoping they're not the first one in line, because they don't care. It could be a small casserole dish. They'll take half of it. They don't care, because they feel entitled, because they were raised to be unintentionally. They don't even realize, because I'll have conversations with them. Do you think that's right that you done that? Like, I'm very kind about it, but I believe everybody should be given an opportunity to have that aha moment. Right. go from ignorance to stupidity, right?
Well,
So
I'm actually glad you bring that up because in my career in HR, often I was the first person to tell them that they had no knowledge of it. And I'm a true believer, if you don't tell them in a kind, nice, respectful way, maybe they'll never know, because some people will choose to never, like, no confrontation is better. They don't want to deal with that. But it was my role in HR to make sure, like, there were things I had to address with people that others would be like, oh, I would have turned inside out and ran out like rolled out one of those roly polies. There's no way
yeah.
I could have that conversation, but I had to have some serious heart to hearts. And you know what they would tell me? Thank you. Because I treated everyone with dignity and respect, no matter what the message was. I had people who were being laid off and losing their job, and they thanked me for the way that I handled the process, because I treated them like a human. I treated them with dignity and respect 100% of the time, everyone. I don't care if it's the janitor. They always say, oh, I treat the janitor and the CEO the same. But do you? Because not everybody does.
And you know what? In certain work environments, it's almost impossible to treat the janitor and the CEO the same way, because the culture of what is growing or festering or been alive is made it so impossible, where there's so much ass kissing going on that they're stressed out that when they do see the janitor, they don't respect the fact that they're a human being doing something that makes their life better. Just more so in some ways than the CEO. The CEO is causing him grief and strife. And I see there's a lot of cultural problems within corporations and companies, because I've been involved in corporate myself. I've done a lot of consulting in corporate. Prior to my finance business, I was a computer consultant, and the things that I seen in private corporations that I consulted to government, it was people living, yes, sir, can I have some more? Can you beat me down and talk down to me some more, to where they're feeling unappreciated. Then they see the janitor and they underappreciate the janitor. It's like a flow downhill situation, and it really needs to stop, because it still exists.
Yeah, so that's where I would not tolerate that kind of behavior. So whether it's, okay, so there's this issue, I feel it, like you said, you're a empath. I'm very intuitive. Like there's I can walk into an organization and feel like the tension, even in the lobby. And so then if I came in as the HR consultant, or when I was, director or VP of HR, I'd be like, you want to really know what the issue is? It's here. And they'd be like, oftentimes, there were so many times that I would say, you can't handle the truth, like that Jack Nicholson from A Few Good Men, then why ask me? Because I'm going to tell you the reality here. And I was never an ass kisser, ever. And the CEO, believe it or not, they appreciate you more when you're giving them the truth, because there's so many people who aren't. They're just telling them what they want to hear. And then, like you said, if the culture is that of, oh, roll the red carpet out for the executive team, but treat the janitor like shit because they're treating you like shit, that's bullshit to me.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was never your typical HR person. I never said yes, ma'am, yes, sir. I was like, you know what? That doesn't sit well with me. And I'm going to tell you why. And whether they love
it's your delivery. It's your delivery, though.
It's the 100%, Dwight, because I try to coach people on humor works for some people. It worked for me. It doesn't work for everyone. So when you find who you are at the core, what are your values? Who are you? Really, who are you? Not who you want to be, who you want to be like, but who are you? And when you can show up authentically, and you may be under the wrong roof with the wrong culture, wrong people, but when you find your tribe, for lack of a better term, you can be who you are. And everybody's like, well, I want to thrive to do that. It just takes time. You have to just figure out who you are first, connect with yourself. Then guess what? You know what you can offer to other people. Think about dating. So I'm on my second marriage. So there was a period of time between marriages where I was like, this whole online dating thing is wildly fascinating. And you can take glass half full or glass empty approach, right? Like, I decided that I was going to say yes to every single one, every single person that I had any connection with on the phone. I was going to go meet them somewhere, because what if I took away one thing that I learned? I was learning more about myself. I was enhancing who I am, and I was figuring out who I was. So it could be, I never knew that restaurant existed. I didn't know that they make fish that way. I didn't know that cocktail, like whatever it was. I didn't know that school actually offered that degree, whatever it was. And it was a win-win. My
Expanding
husband
your
laughs.
horizons. I love it.
My husband was number 86, and he cracks up. Like 86 is like, like you've been 86, you're out the door. It was more just the opposite. So
That's awesome.
I wasn't even planning to share that, but if you show up authentic to yourself, connected to who you are, what makes you tick and what ticks you off, you'll quickly understand that you're in the wrong place, wrong time, and the choice is yours. We've talked about this being the choice. Choices are ours with everything. I coach people all the time on getting out of their job that they can't stand. They go home and they yell at their significant other or their kids or their dog because they hate it, or they drink or whatever they do because
Addiction,
their day sucked, right?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. You can be a whatever. My husband's a civil engineer. You could be a civil engineer at this firm, but the leadership is like this, and it's nothing but tension and frustration and obstacles. But what if you take your skills, knowledge, and abilities and it goes somewhere else where it's different? And 100% of people leave because they either stay at an organization because of the relationship with their manager, or not, right? So they may say that they leave because they weren't making enough money, but it's not. It's the direct relationship with their manager or lack of. It's the connection. It's the
sadly, how many times, especially with your HR experience, how many times has a manager retired, moved on, whatever the case may be, and that department falls apart because the new person going in tries to change the culture that's already functioning, and all of a sudden people above will see their performance numbers go crash, and it's easy to see why somebody hired the wrong individual. It doesn't mean that individual is bad. They weren't met for that culture that was created. They just can't step into the shoes of that person, man or woman, that was running that department or that organization. I've seen it so many times, and it breaks my heart when I hear clients that I'll reach out to and we'll do reviews, and I'll say, so what's going on in your life right now? How's things going? And it's just blah. Like in my industry, being a financial planner, owning an agency over and training hundreds of agents to do, what I do, the stories I've heard, the stories I could tell would blow people's minds, because bottom line, we are all similar in so many different ways, but being underappreciated or being comfortable in our personal lives, our business lives, and then having it disrupted causes so much tumultuous stuff to happen, and people's lives fall apart, as you said. Then all of a sudden, what's the first thing that suffers? Their family unit.
Yes.
Right. And it's terrible. And I'm guilty of that. I've had to have those come to what people joke about, but come to Jesus moments where I think about the fact, why did my marriage fall apart? Why did I have this client act this way? And I'm talking over like 30 some years. I've had to really analyze to a point where I'm a culmination of the screw ups I've done, which have helped me become better so that I don't do that again, because of improper words, improper body language, tonality. The people don't realize it when we're dealing with people, and you get this. That's why I love this. How we present ourselves, how we talk. There's a reason. There's, like I told my son yesterday, I said, son, and we were talking about it. I said, you know what a thesaurus is? He goes, yeah, Dad. I said, the thing is I can deliver something. So you need to be a wordsmith. And I talked to Vinny about that yesterday too. Too many people don't think about what they're saying because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I told my kids that their whole lives. They got so tired of hearing that. Well, what happened with your friend? What happened with this boyfriend, girlfriend? What happened at school? Why did this happen at your job? Even as adults, I'll say, tell me. Well, tell me as close as you can remember how you said it. Well, you know what? This is what I think happened. You said this, and this word is a trigger for this. And you said this, it would mean the same thing, but it's a different word, but it still has the same meaning. And I
Use your words
constantly,
wisely.
but I never coach on things I don't practice myself.
Mm.
I can't stand people that give
Yeah.
advice that don't live that advice.
Oh,
Right?
I hear you.
A life of a facade.
You mentioned
Right.
a couple things.
Sure.
Appreciation. So if you want engaged employees, an engaged staff, an engaged corporation, you need to appreciate them. You need to recognize what they're doing. And for 30 years too, I've been doing what I've been doing. And I've coached so many leaders on, you know what? You don't even need a budget line item to say, thank you so much, Dwight. With your involvement in this project, we were able to do this, this, and this. I am so grateful. You added so much value. That took what, 5 seconds? Free. It's free, people. And guess what? It goes a long way. And give a specific example. Don't be just, hey, oh, you did a good job again. That doesn't really intelligent top 10% people are going to just be like, here he goes. He's just saying things to say things.
Be genuine. Yeah. It's really hard
Yes,
for people to be genuine.
and take the time to be a little bit specific. Give examples. Like we do that
100%.
when someone's failing. We tell them, oh, on this project, you missed this, you had to come to. But what about when they're doing good? Have that equal portions, and you'd be amazed at how dedicated and loyal your staff will be to you. Because guess what? They're growing along the way too, but you're also appreciating and recognizing their hard work. They need to feel like they're adding value and that they're valued.
Yeah. And you know what? And take that to the level that if you can learn to do that in your work environment, do that in your home environment. Your family deserves appreciation. They deserve to have kudos for things. Don't quit, if you're that person that's blowing sunshine up people's butts, quit doing it. And be genuine, just be sincere. And learn delivery. That's another thing that,
Yes.
Delivery, we talked a little bit about that, but that's something that's really needs to be a focus of leaders, people and when you're a parent, you're a leader. Even you can think you're not, but you're leading your children. If you don't have children, you're leading your friends as an example. So if you see somebody do something great in your family or friends outside of your work, obviously work is a focus, but if you want there's never a possibility of balance throughout our whole lives, even through our core values. But we can have a synergy from one to the other, and people don't get it from work. Your work, you come home, if you are good at work and you're satisfying people at work and people appreciate you there, your energy is going to come home. Now you see a child or your significant other, or you see a mom, dad, aunt, uncle, friend do something great, and you learn to practice your tonality and how you deliver, and your compassion and being truthful and genuine comes out in your body language. I study body language. I've been spending, it's going to be close to, I started studying body language in the early 90s with my first business, and seeing why people are leaning forward, or why they're like this, or they're standing back, or I watch their shoulders. And then I started playing around with the way I deliver, or the way I would be, practicing my being genuine to see if they're bought. And people will go, you did all that? Well, yeah. Why would you do that? Because I don't like confrontation. And if I can avoid confrontation by working on me, my 6 inches between my ears and my heart and soul, and how I project myself to others, I'm going to get what I want back. I'm going to attract that back. And that's going to help that person have a better day, a better life. It's going to help me. It's nothing to do with ego. It's just wanting to be what I want others to be throughout my life to me, right? It's
Love it.
Look in the mirror. Do you like what you see? Right? If you don't like what you see, start working on it. It's never too late to give a heck. I know it sounds corny, but it's true. All
Oh, I
right.
love that. I love that. And be a role, like you brought in the family part, be a role model for your kids, be a role model for people at work. If you expect them to do something, you should be doing that too. I love what you just said. Look in the mirror, and it's never too old to make some changes. You were
Well,
talking
yeah.
about that real quick. You were talking about that leader who comes into the organization because somebody retired and then the numbers fall. I had a lot of experience with that, and somebody would be very charismatic in the interview process. We'd bring them in and they had an agenda that wasn't the company's, and their ego was so big that they just wanted, we're going to change this for sake of changing it so I could put my name on it and said that I owned it and I did this, and this, and these were the changes. And you hit it on the head. It backfires. It backfires. That's not the kind of people you want to bring in. We know that, but sometimes they slip through the cracks. So ego gets in the way.
People that do the hiring need to be educated. They need to have tune-ups, because even throughout history, we look at the evolution of corporate with the X and Y management and how things function and move forward in a trajectory, whether, when it's going up, it's not going down, how to treat and have a culture within a corporation. And, those of you that have done hiring, I've done it. I've been hired as a consultant and gone in and said, hey, help us hire all these people when I came to me having my IT consulting business. And I'd listen to how their actual staff would make suggestions. And I'd say, well, you know what? That's got some valid merit, because I don't want to discount people and make them I'm not looking for them to like me. I'm looking for them to acknowledge the fact that I might know something they don't know, and maybe we can work together. I want to help create that. Let's work together. You don't have to be on your own anymore to figure this out. Maybe this is a better way to present yourself. Maybe we should look for this type of person. It looks like this department or this staffing problem that you're having has to do with the culture. And it's tough for people to swallow that pill. Again, it's back to how do you deliver, how you present. And I'm going to work on that till the day I die. And I'm not talking on a corporate business. I'm talking life. Yeah. Life is a smorgasbord. I treat it like a buffet. I take what I like. I leave what I don't. The stuff that I don't like, that is pushed aside. But I analyze, is it a me issue that doesn't like it? Is it, why don't I like it? Oh, let's talk to Jeannie. Hey, Jeannie, what do you think? I kind of don't like this. Get other people's opinions and then come to your own resolution and then adopt that until such time it's wrong. The trajectory changes in life. Maybe, it had a season in your life, just like people. Now it's time to move on, right? That can be ideals that we adopted and worked for 10 years, and now they don't, because society is constantly evolving. The family unit is constantly evolving. Our personal lives are evolving. So we go back to our career or our corporation. We're changing. We're evolving. Now things that we used to tolerate aren't tolerable anymore.
Right. A reason, a season, a lifetime.
Yeah.
Constant change. That's one thing you can count on, is change. Life isn't fair, like my mom said. I remember
absolutely. I used to hear that all the time.
My mom would come in my room and she's like, she turned the light on and I had rearranged my room. So she didn't know where my head was, and to like look for me, because I liked change. I like change. Like, I move furniture around. I like fresh, new environments of physical space, but I also lifetime learner. And just like you said, you got to keep up with it. Things are changing. And look at now. Look what's tolerated. Now, let me rephrase that, actually. Look what's not being tolerated in the work world. And I tell the newbies coming in, the 20-year-olds coming into their first jobs in their career, how proud I am of them for wanting to show up, or expecting to be allowed to show up their whole self. So there isn't they put on their work hat and they act all day, and then they go home and then they can cut loose and be themselves. They want to show up their whole selves. And a lot of the, people who've been doing this for 30, 40 years don't understand that. And they're having a hard time because we were programmed. You put your work hat on, you do your work, you tolerate everything that's happening because that's what you do. You comply with the boss's rules, no matter whether you believe in them or not. But you know what? That's not flying anymore. And you're seeing this evolution since we've been in the work world for a while. And I'm really proud of them. And I think a lot of the more senior people need to partner up and have coffee and lunch with the newbies and let them pick their brain and be open-minded to learning. Because when you are, it's amazing. I mean, I've done some training programs on the cultural differences, and there are huge differences. But in the end of those trainings, I always say, but we all want the same thing. We want to add value, and we want to feel like we're valued. We want to be treated with dignity and respect. Boom, bottom line. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter who you want to sleep with or who you what you wear. It doesn't, what race, it doesn't matter. That's all we want. We're human. Treat people with respect.
And so, one of the things I see it's really bad is labeling, though, too. Like millennial, you're a millennial, you're this, you're that generation, and you're going to be this. As young kids just don't understand. You brought up a valid point. Age has nothing to do with it.
Nothing.
Compassion, kindness. Yes. Everybody wants appreciation, and everybody wants to, I myself, and you're probably the exact same way. We all want to feel like we're being heard. Yes. But not just listened to. There's a difference between listened to and heard, right? And people don't get that. Again, it's the little significant differences in life about how we treat others are important. Those little finite things, because I look at all the different things that I've been involved in, all the companies I've helped when I was an employee to being a boss to the leadership role that I present today. There's little finite things, but it all comes back to I need to be the best version of myself and treat people like I want to be treated. I don't care what age they are. I can't stand people that have that talk to the younger generation like they're stupid. That just totally infuriates me. Or I used to have this. I used to be one of the worst at this back in my 20s. I used to be like, I've forgotten more than you know. Right. But I heard that from different people throughout my life that I adopted that arrogance. And I had somebody one day who's still been a mentor of mine for over 30 years say, why do you feel that way? It may be true that you know more than they do, but by thinking that, even if you don't say it, you're conditioning your mind to have that superior attitude. And that doesn't fly. You're presenting that through your energy even. And that was in my 20s. And that was like, one of those big aha moments.
I love that. You mentioned something earlier that you ask people to tell you how you did on this or what's changed or keep you informed of behavior or how you responded to something. And then I love that you have that kind of relationship with others who they're willing to tell you that, and that you're open to learning and hearing and listening to them, hearing what they have to say and making those changes. That's key.
Well, because you know why I do that, Jeannie, is because I always wanted that in my life. From the professionals or people that I dealt with, I wanted to be felt like I was heard, not just asked a question and listened to. Heard always goes back to that. Are you hearing me? And I didn't feel that. And even before I started studying human nature and body language and tonality and people's eyes, that's one good thing I've really gotten into studying the last few years, especially with the pandemic, is people's eyes, because now I couldn't see their face, right? Because of masks. And I wanted to be that person that I didn't have. And I strive to always think to myself, you're never going to be that type of person. You're not going to be that person. And if I catch myself being that person, I'm also the type of person I teach my kids that apologize. Right? Hey, Jeannie, when we talked the other day, I left our conversation and something didn't seem right. so I analyzed what went on, and I noticed some things that I didn't catch right away in your body language or your tonality. And it may have been because I did this. And if I did, upset you, I apologize. Can we rediscuss this? Can we go over this again? If I'm the challenge or the issue, or there's somebody else, maybe we can figure it out, because now I'm in a better headspace. At that moment I wasn't, and I shouldn't have been discussing it. Step outside of it sometimes too. I'll be in conversation and just go, you know what? I don't have the space for this right now. I'm sorry. Can we book something an hour from now, a day from now? Because the end result of what you're looking for, I don't have the right headspace right now. And if I did do it again, didn't catch it, go back and say, you know what, Jeannie, I'm sorry. I realize now that I didn't have my head in the game and it wasn't fair to you. I want to start off by apologizing and saying, let's work on this again.
I love, love, love what you just said. If more people did this, our world would be so different. And that I laughed. I just couldn't help but laugh when you said, hey, I'm just not in the right headspace. The other day, somebody approached our house and I was hanging Christmas lights, dealing with the things. And this guy came over to talk, and I go, you know what? I just can't right now, but my husband's right here. Pawned him off, which I have never done. I usually handle it, but I was like, hey, that was kind of cool. My boundaries are working. Like when I feel like I can't respond in a respectful way, just don't. But not saying anything is not okay either. You need to address the issue. Like, I just can't do it. I have too many things circulating in my brain right now. Give me 20 minutes. I'll be right back. People respect that. Share with people your feelings and your emotions and where you are at the time, and they get it. They're human too, because guess what? They've experienced it too. I love what you said. If we all did that, just even start practicing 1 hour of your workday and changing things. Like instead of going, nope, I'm in the middle of something. What if you said, just explain a little bit. Just take a couple minutes to explain how you're feeling.
And be calm about it.
Calm.
And always when you're dealing with people, if their energy level, they come in and you're a leader and they have angst, make sure that when you respond, you're calm, but that your energy level is, if your normal energy level is at 0, do it 10% above that. Just in a positive light. I'm not saying like an angst way. And I found that when my energy resonates above where the energy that's coming at me, I get better response. Not all the time, but just little things I've learned and I practice. And it's just, it's going to go always back to the fact that you get this right, it will flow into your family life, into your daily life. You'll 100%. Wake up in a sense. I spent so many years of my life in quiet desperation until I learned this stuff, until I started teaching this stuff, because my whole goal, even in my book, I talk about it, is to help people stop feeling camped and living a life of quiet desperation. That's not a way to live. On a hamster wheel, going to work, go home, get paid, coming home,
Groundhog Day. Every day's Groundhog Day.
Yeah, getting caught up into addictions. And I'm not against social drinking, social, whatever people want to do, right? Yeah. What I'm against is the fact when people use it as a crutch and hide. They hide from their families. Their family unit falls apart. Their financial lives, obviously 20 years of doing this, falls apart because they have not ever had anybody want to help them work on the conditioning of their mindset. Because after this is my 20th year in finance with my agency. And I tell the people that I coach in finance, like the other agents that I still communicate with, because I stopped wanting to teach a lot because it's a lot of babysitting and it takes away from where I want to go in my life. But I teach them, bottom line, if you don't help that family, that individual, that business owner, figure out and discover some things and start a different path and journey, no matter what you do with them for their finances, their insurance, their healthcare, their retirement, goal setting won't matter. It'll all fall apart because you're a temporary, it's just like going to buy something. You buy something and then you have buyer's remorse because it made you temporarily feel better, but it really wasn't a great decision. It's the same thing as, they did that because you encouraged them and your energy was positive. They fed off it. When you're gone, what happens? The life energy they've been living comes back because you haven't helped them climb out of it and stop living a camped life. And anyway, it's just, there's so much that we could unpack. And,
So much.
I haven't gotten in. I mentioned to you before, when I have podcasts that are amazing like this is right now, I haven't got to the questions. So before we even get to the end here, which is coming up soon, I know you have some extra time, so we're going to get through a couple of them. We're going to have a part two.
We will definitely have a part two.
I honestly think, because this conversation's been so enlightening. Like, I love the way, I know a podcast is going well because I understand my body triggers when I have that. And you're gonna like chuckle, that warm fuzzy feeling, that energy inside, and I feel invigorated. And it's amazing when you can have conversations with people where you are like-minded and you can know, like, and trust each other in like an hour.
Yes.
Right.
That's the true connection. And I don't laugh when you said you get kind of the warm fuzzies. I get like this chill. It's almost like, and it just started this calendar year. It like goes through my arms and legs, and it's like a quick, like the chills. And it's almost like a whole nother level of connection that is so comfortable that it's almost like my body's telling me, like, cool, like it's good. Like, if you've just leveled up. It's an interesting thing that I have observed in my own physical being because of my mental state this particular year when I'm connecting with people. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
It is. I think it's good. And we definitely have a part two. We could talk forever and ever and ever,
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. It's you talked about being on podcasts yourself, and I've talked about it. Part of, I think, if I'm honest with myself, why I haven't been on a lot of podcasts is I find when I'm off that podcast, I feel empty. I don't feel any level of satisfaction. I'm not expecting them to be, stroking my ego or going, oh, well, there's no real connection. It's an interview. And people say, well, you can't have, I have friends that do podcasts. They refuse to do them over Zoom. Now that pandemic is, pretty much completed, it has to be face to face. And I'll go, why? Well, because you can't feel energy. You can't. I said, that's not true. Yeah. I've had podcasts with people from New Zealand and from England, all over the world. I've had people on my show, and I have great energy with them. They have great energy because you're thinking about it the wrong way. Look at that person.
I want to challenge you for a second, because we're all different. So if that particular host gets and interacts with people in person, you may have something within you that you can do it via video, but maybe they can't.
True.
So we're all so very different. So I think it's good for us as leaders. And you mentioned earlier about we're all leaders, and people like, oh, I don't know if your program would be good for me because I'm not a leader. I go, you lead your own life. You are a leader. You lead you teams for your kids. You lead, your way to whatever it is that you solve during that day. Everyone's a leader of their own life and in their environments. But so everybody is different. And I think that is huge for leaders to realize. When you have a staff of 12 engineers, it's important to get to know each one of them. And I mentioned it earlier, what ticks them off and what makes them tick. And I thought of that one day, I think during one of the interviews I had, I'm like, that makes so much sense to me. Like, just ask them that and get to know that. And you have to, you mentioned time and time again, like we could meet for coffee, but it takes time to really get to know people. The same thing with your staff. But it has to be genuine, that you want to learn more about them. And when you can learn about the whole person and what they're bringing home and what do they bring to work based on, like you said, your origin, how they were raised. And you don't want to like, give me your life history because you just started this new job, but give them an opportunity to share what they feel is important that you know. And that's a great question. Like I coach people on saying, Okay, you have new employee orientation. You got this new person. Why don't you ask them this one question? Dwight, what is important for me to know so that I can lead you to success? I can be that coach manager for you. What do I need to know? And they're like, I've never been asked that question. No one's ever asked me that. Think about it and come back to me when you have the answer. Like, it's my job to get to know you and understand what you need so that I can help you succeed. And a lot
Yeah,
of
that's
managers don't do that. They don't do that. They don't take the time. And you were touching earlier on culture, and I think it's important that cultures of organizations need to develop a failure factor aspect of it so that people learn from, they're okay making mistakes. They're willing to take risks because that's how you learn.
absolutely. We've become a nation or a world of people that live in fear of taking risks. They'll take one chance, they'll trip, fall, and they get up, and then the rest of their life is about that failure instead of pivoting on that thought process and making it a life lesson to move forward. And it's become really prevalent as I continue to mature in my thought process, because I never going to stop learning and growing, that people, like you said, everybody's different. And you're right about the podcasters, maybe they aren't, but what I wanted to interject with is they never try. They'll
Yeah.
automatically tell me they're stuck in that mental rut that they have to be face to face. And what I do is I challenge them, because I belong to some podcast groups, and I'll say to them, try,
Yeah.
maybe do it this way.
There you go.
Maybe, instead of just starting to record the podcast, have it so that you don't record for at least 15 minutes to half an hour. That's why I try to make my minimum 90 minutes. And yes, that's a lot of time, but it's not. Right? Why are we doing podcasting? If we're just doing it to be a pitch person, you're not my person. You're not going to be on my show.
Yep.
If
Yep.
you're not into creating where we can have a synergy and then build a relationship outside of as we go along with the conversation, and then have it after the fact, or wanting to have a second episode, you're not my tribe. Like, as you mentioned, I love that word too, because I use it a lot. Right. I'm looking for people to be in my inner circle. I'm looking to be in their inner circle. It's overlapping. I always tell people, here's my life, here's yours. I want to overlap. Right.
Yeah.
We're never going to be 100%, but I want to overlap.
Yeah.
I live a life of a 70-30 principle. I've talked about this so much on my podcast. 70% of the time I want to be around Jeannie. 30% of the time, maybe you say or do or post or do something that kind of irritates me, but 70% of the time when I hear your name or I know we're going to meet up, I'm glad. I'm a glad, happy person. I got that warm feeling and thinking, I can't wait to see you. We have a great conversation and you're walking away, or we're going to hang up on this video call and I can't wait to connect with you again. That's what I seek in life.
Yes.
Is to have people and associations, whether it's in a work environment or home environment, where I'm not cringing when I hear you speak or see your post. Right.
I love that. I've never even thought about that 70-30, and you don't have to love people 100% of what they do. I like that. I'm going to keep that in mind. Understanding your why and other people's why, and being okay if it isn't a good fit. And I know a lot of people who but I really wanted to make it work. Well, guess what? Maybe it has to be both sides. And if you're feeling a certain way, the other person is too, in any relationship, work or personal. And that's okay. You have to be okay with that. But when you know your why and your purpose, it's okay. Not everybody's going to love you. All these influencers they've gone through a lot of training on accepting that people don't like them, and that's okay, because there's a huge population out there that are in that 30%, right? So I think that's huge. So know your why. And as we get more wise in our life, it's okay to clean out the friend closet, clean out the connection closet. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you've known each other for 40 years. I recently had to do this. And it was heartbreaking. And I actually had to go through like the grieving process of losing a person when they were still alive. But we no longer had anything in common except for the decades. And if I were to meet that person today, would I put effort into trying to stay connected with them? And the answer is no, because we had nothing in common. And we were almost polar opposites when it came to politics and religion and things like that. And you have to realize, like, it's okay if you outgrow people. As a matter of fact, it's really good for you that you're growing in a manner like what Dwight was just saying, how you're always learning. You want to be the best version of yourself. Some people want to stay stuck in whatever they were at 25, 35, whatever it was, whining and complaining and bitching, but not doing a damn thing about it. Dwight wants to make changes and be the best version. Hang around those people who are in those places that you want to be. Life is too damn short to not be energized. And like you said, when you wake up in the morning, you want to be happy and excited. And not every day. Some days, the sun's not always shining in my face, but the majority of it, we're back to the choice is yours. Create the life that you want. And it's okay to let go of people. It's not easy. It's okay to go through the whole grieving process of giving up a job or a relationship or with a friend or a significant other, whatever it is. But be honest with yourself, because this is your life.
Life's in session. Yeah, life's in session. I say this phrase to people all the time and they chuckle. Life's in session. This is not a dress rehearsal.
I love it.
There's no do-overs.
There's no do-overs. And, we were born on a date. We're going to pass away on a date. And that dash in between is yours to make. Like, create it. Start now.
And, as a sub thing of that, legacy, people don't get it. I want to create a legacy, and their definition of what legacy is and my definition and how I coach are completely different. And the reason I bring that up is you talk about the dash between birth and death. Our legacy, we're creating it. Our living legacy is being created right now. You and I speaking. Yes. We're creating a living legacy, a memory that's going to be out there in the ether in regards to digital, people being able to watch and listen to this for decades, right? That is part of our living legacy. So now if somebody goes and listens to this podcast, one of your friends, one of your new cohorts, or somebody that's thinking of using it, that is part of your legacy. Yeah. They're listening to this conversation, getting to know, like, and trust you. It works the same for myself. And what do I want to represent myself? What do I want people to say when my eulogy is being read? Have I helped create the eulogy, or they created the eulogy or struggled to create it? He was a nice guy, died too long. He was really good dad. He was a really good family guy. And 20 seconds later, they're standing down. The eulogy's done. Or do you aspire to live your life as a living legacy and create your eulogy as you go along, so that people it's 20 minutes long. And I'm not saying, again, it's not an ego thing. Mm-hmm. Go out and create something that people are proud of you. Now you're gone and you live on throughout this decades because you were that person. You were genuine. You were sincere. You put effort into developing a legacy that you deserve to have, that make people smile. Right. I know people that have passed away that they're gone.
Yeah. That bringing up the eulogy and the legacy is so close to my heart right now. So last year, my mom passed away.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I was honored to actually write her eulogy. And it was pages and pages long. And when I read it at her service, my husband came up and he was like, that was incredible. But for like 2 weeks, he kept telling me how incredible what I said about my mom was and how I presented it. And it was because she was so genuinely good, kind. There wasn't one person who left spending time with her that didn't feel good about themselves. That's who I would like to be even closely remote to when I pass away. Like, people look back and say, yeah, Jeannie made me feel so good. She made me feel like she heard me. She made me feel like I was important. And I know all this because of my mom. So that was huge. I was able to do that. And I actually created a confidence course for women, and I want to do one for women, and I want to do a separate group coaching for HR people, and it's on confidence. But part of it is about writing your own eulogy. And I did this for myself, and you have to pick who's going to read it. So you have to actually think about who's going to read this. And because I read my mom's, my only son, I had it written from him. And some people who will go through this exercise won't even know what to say because they haven't shared enough of themselves with that person that they picked who's going to read it, right? So if you really want to be authentic, which is now the new word of everything, like I was authentic before people use the word the way they use it now. And I don't say that like, woohoo, cool Jeannie. It's just like I showed up who I am, and there were times where I was told, you're not a good fit for this culture. I'm like, you're right. I wish I had figured that out sooner, but you're right. I'm not a good fit. So I'm going to move on, right? It's okay. But I think so part of the exercise is really identifying who's going to read it, and you write who you really are. And that's the coolest thing. Like, you're not going to have, oh, he was a CEO on your tombstone. You're not going to have sales numbers were always 100%. None of that is going to show up there. So it's who you are at the core and what you bring to the corporate that makes all the difference. Those are the organizations that have leaders who people are following them. They're willing to stick it out. They're fully engaged with them. Those organizations are the ones who are kicking ass at their numbers and at their goals, because they're allowing people to be who they are, share who they are. And you know what? Their leaders are leading by example.
Always. They should be. Or
Yeah.
don't be a leader. Step aside. Right?
Oh, this keeps coming up almost twice a day this week. Here you have these leaders in these roles who nobody is really respecting them as the leader for a variety of reasons. Well, guess what? They're probably equally miserable, but they felt that they had to climb the corporate ladder and be in that role, managing a staff of 30 to get the money. Well, why don't organizations have two separate growth paths? One can be independent contributors and one can be leaders, managers, because not everyone's programmed, nor do they want to do it. They try so hard, but when you're trying to put yourself in a position just to have the career recognition, but it's so challenging for you. Those are the same people that go home and,
So you're
share with
talking
me that
about
they
silent
drank all night.
contributors. Yeah, you can have a silent contributor, different paths where they're invaluable to the company, but they don't have to be in the limelight. They don't want to be in the limelight, but they have great thoughts. They have great things that they can interject within the culture, within the thought process of the corporation. That's true though, 100%.
And then then they're in roles that they're passionate about, and they're successful and they're adding value, and it's equal levels with the director. They just don't have staff under them. And it's not because you created that role for them. It's the organization needs all types of roles. And some organizations don't look at their org chart like that. Nope, you have a leader who manages these people, although they're terrible at managing. And guess what? They know they are too. And so then they're unhappy. So it's okay to say, thought I was going to be good at it, thought I could pull it off, but you know what? If I'm really honest with myself after listening to Jeannie and Dwight's conversation, I don't want to do this. How can I, if you really have a connection with your staff, that individual contributor, who it should be, comes in and says, I gotta have a heart to heart with you. Thank you for promoting me 2 years ago, but I gotta be honest with you. I don't think it's for me. I'm not happy. but this is where I can end, own your own career. I believe this and this is where I can add value. I've been sitting here thinking about this for 2 years. Can I finally share it with you? Here's my plan. How do you think we could fit this in? But they have to feel comfortable enough knowing that they're not going to get fired, because now, they've now fessed up saying that this isn't for me.
How many
And
people are promoted when they shouldn't be promoted because
oh
there
my
wasn't
God,
because there wasn't a conversation? They
because there was
just,
no conversation.
yeah,
They were
it's
good at what they
sad.
did, and so let's make them a general manager. Well, no, that's maybe not the right idea. So yeah, Dwight, we could talk for days. We could have like a
Yeah,
marathon.
and we're going to, because I have so many great things to ask you that I'm so excited to hear the answer. But unfortunately, we're gonna get to the one thing that I always close my podcast off with, and we're gonna have a part two. Listeners that are excited and enjoying this as much as I am and have, we're going to have a part two in a very short period of time, so that we don't lose this energy, this what we've created in a very short period of time, this connection, this unity of conversation.
Love it.
I need more, and I hope you do too, that's watching and listening. So Jeannie, if you had to give our listeners one last closing message, what would you tell them in regards to giving a heck and never giving up?
When you have a goal, or a goal that you wish you always wish you wanted to do this, and then you maybe as a child you were told not to, or no, you can't do that, or women don't do that, or whatever it is. If you always wished that you woulda, shoulda, coulda, it's never too late. You mentioned it earlier, put baby steps in place and you will achieve everything you want to in life. If you want it bad enough, you will figure out a way to do it. And everything is doable. Everything.
Absolutely. And if you
So,
have that spark, water
yeah.
it. Find the people to water it.
100%. Water that bad boy. And do not shortchange yourself. Don't be at the end of your life wishing you would have, should have, could have. Do it, because that's where the spark is you're just going to light you on fire. That's living. That is living.
That's
You know
why
what?
doing the eulogy is important,
So important.
because you get
Yes.
to see what you want, right? It opens up your eyes, and then you start goal setting out past your eulogy. And when you brought that up, I smiled, like the way you were talking about writing it. I wrote my first eulogy in 2003. I went into a setting where I was invited, a small group of us. It was going into my second year of, or pardon me, I wasn't even done my first year of finance yet. I'd started in the fall of 2002, and there was a group of us, and a guy by the name of Jeff Levitan came in from the US, very famous guy in the finance, but he was developing stuff outside of finance. He created a course on how to write and design your own eulogy and then plan to live that life. What do you want people to say? I still have that binder. It's going to be 20 years ago that I did that.
I love
and
it.
it's live a purposeful life. Like, that's what my message is: how to live life on purpose and not by accident. It takes effort, it takes work. If you have a little spark, you're listening to this, there's people that can mentor you, there's people that will listen to you. Maybe you have a call with Jeannie and she's not your person, but you need to interview, you need to talk to people. You have a call with me, you'll finally find somebody. Don't jump into the pool the first time you see it. Don't jump into that, dip your toe in and go, oh, maybe that's not the right place for me. Go check out another pool. Go check out another coach. Find somebody that's going to water and fertilize and nurture your spark so that it becomes a bonfire and it can never get put out, because you are worthy. We all are.
I love that. I love it. Love it. Love it. And yes, don't follow just because everyone else is doing it. If it doesn't feel right, it's not. When you find somebody that you just said, the unity of connection, that's where you need to put your effort into, because they get you, you get them. You've already achieved so many, like jumped over so many obstacles already to get to find that person. But if it doesn't, I guess that's my last bit of advice. If it doesn't feel right, whether it's a marriage, a work relationship, a road you're going down, it's not. Your intuition doesn't lie. Stop and listen, pause for a second. And what am I feeling? And then flip it, switch it.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate your time. I look forward to our next conversation and getting to know you better. So our time is almost up, and I want to respect our listeners and your time. What is the best way that people can reach you?
It's on the website. Everything, we have links to everything on there. It's dynamism, DYNAMISM, leadership.com. And there's a link. You can book a 15-minute call with me. There's a link to the confidence course that we're pulling together. It's a group program, and it's going to be by approval, because it's important. An application process is important, who's in the group and how they will actually support each other and who's really serious about it. So that's on there as well.
That's fantastic. And that's the best way to do it. Go to the website. I'll make sure it's in the show notes. For new listeners or viewers of the show, you can go to www.giveaheck.com and hit the podcast portal button. You will see Jeannie's smiley face, and you'll see the show notes below, along with the links of how to reach out and connect with her. And just realize, bottom line, it's up to you. You have to be the willing. If you even feel a little bit of desire, a little bit of spark, we're approachable. We're easy to deal with. Reach out to Jeannie. If you want a connection via myself, I've had people do that over the last 2 years. They'll reach out to me. I'll connect you to Jeannie, because some people they've been programmed to be shy and they don't know how to be assertive. So, don't feel that if you really connected with what Jeannie had to say, reach out to me. I will connect you, because I do give a heck, and so does Jeannie. And we want you to live the life that you were destined to live, right? A life that's shining, and you're going to have your bad moments in life, but you will get to a point where you'll never have bad days. So I appreciate you being on, Jeannie. I look forward to our next conversation. Any last parting comments that you'd like to share?
Just one that percolated right now, and it's believe in yourself. If you want others to believe in you, you have to believe in yourself. And my mom, who we just talked about, who passed away, she used to wear these shirts that said believe. And they come around at Christmas time with like snowflakes on it, but she wore them year round. And it's the cutest darn thing. It's just like, believe. And if you don't believe, it's not going to happen. Miracles don't happen unless you believe in them. So believe in yourself. Thank you so much for having me, Dwight. This was an incredible conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. And I look forward to our next one. So thanks so much for being on Give a Heck, Jeannie. I appreciate your time and sharing some of your experiences so that others too can learn it is never too late to give a heck.
Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.